Joining us now is May Mailman. She's the director of the Independent Women's Forum's Law Center, and she's on the phone. Hello, May. Good to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So the big news this week is that you are leading a lawsuit against the NCAA. Give us a sense of what this is about.
Yeah, so there are 16 student athletes, Riley Gaines being the most prominent of them, who are taking it to the NCAA. They have a lawsuit that alleges a couple of things. One, a breach of Title IX, which is a 1972 law that was specifically meant to give women opportunities in school, including athletic opportunities, and then also constitutional violations. So the Constitution requires that you not discriminate against women. And also, this is a little more controversial, but substantive due process is there's been a right recognized to bodily integrity. And when you have state entities that are forcing women to disrobe and be naked around fully intact males, well, that is a violation of bodily integrity, bodily privacy.
Yes. Yeah. So has a case ever been attempted like this? Because, I mean, it seems to me this is common sense. But we live in such a crazy world that, I have no idea how this is going to end up.
Yeah, so it's funny because you actually have cases from both sides. So I think the earliest case is coming out of Connecticut, which is a Title IX challenge to the Connecticut Athletic Association, which has had for more than a decade now, a men can participate in women's sports policy. And so when men beat out some female track athletes, there was a lawsuit there alleging Title IX. So this is a little bit similar to that. And that case has been ongoing for years. When I was in the Trump White House, we weighed in on that case, and we're many years past the Trump White House. So you've got cases like that are on one direction, but funny enough, you've got cases on the other direction too, where you've got men who want to participate in women's sports, and they are suing their states, saying that they have either a constitutional or a Title IX or both right to participate in women's sports. So that's kind of, I guess, the positive here is you've got cases from both angles. And so at some point, the Supreme Court is going to have to put an end to the madness.
Yeah, and there's nothing it doesn't really work the other way as much. Like I've seen women participate in men's sports, and nobody ever blinks an eye at that because that's a big deal, and they can do that if they'd like to at that level of competition. Why can't the guys who say that they're women just participate in men's sports?
Well, that would not be very affirming. So I think one of the big arguments you see in the lawsuits from the men who are trying to have access to women's sports is that it would be harmful in order to make those men play men's sports because it doesn't fit their identity. And so you're actually harming trans people. You're being anti-trans, and that either the Constitution or Title IX prohibits schools from being anti-trans. That's the theory.
It's so mindless. So if you prevail in this lawsuit, and if these female athletes prevail here, what would the effect be, do you think?
So this is going to be a long slog. And really, the NCAA could change its policies tomorrow. This could all be done tomorrow. But, if these female athletes prevail, then the request that they are seeking is an injunction that the NCAA stop violating Title IX. So, you would have presumably sensible sex-based protections reinstituted by the NCAA, which of course they can do tomorrow. And then you'd have the reinstatement of female athletes who were denied awards because they had to give them to men. So they would basically scrub the men from the women's records. That's not going to happen tomorrow. The lawsuit is going to take an extraordinarily long time. Like I said, the Connecticut lawsuit is still in early stages, even though it's existed for 5 years-ish at this point. So then to compile on top of all of this, the Biden administration is trying to rewrite Title IX so that these women wouldn't even be able to say that there's a Title IX violation. Biden is trying to say that Title IX demands gender identity-based sports. So really, this lawsuit is one of what we would say is a multi-pronged strategy. We need adults to speak up. We need coaches to speak up. We need NCAA officials to speak up. We have other lawsuits that are in the works. We have to win those as well. But certainly this is a huge step forward.
Well, the entire point of having a distinct category for women's sports is to create a level playing field for the female athletes. That's the entire point of it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have male versus female sports. You would have no distinction whatsoever, yet we do. And you have men who are cheating in women's sports, and at the moment, it's considered normal.
It is. And the American public, of course, does not agree with this. The American public is 70-30 in favor of having sex-based sports. Like, if you're going to have them, you can obviously have co-ed sports. But if you're going to have women's sports, that actually be women. So it is a small cadre of people who I don't really know what their end goal is here. Because it is actually the end of women's sports. And if you ask them about that, they'll say, well, these are a very limited number of people, and shouldn't we care about feelings and that sort of thing.
Oh, my God.
Well, what people forget is even one male-bodied athlete in the pool or on the court affects hundreds of women, right? Because that one athlete competes against hundreds of women, and especially for contact sports where you have injuries. There's a woman also associated with Independent Women's Forum. She's one of our ambassadors. She is permanently paralyzed because a ball was spiked in her face. She has neurological damage. She will never be the same. And so for this minimizing of the harm, it's like there's no other circumstance where we would say it's okay to just a few people to get beat up. There's no comparison.
And I've heard Riley Gaines point out that in the case of the guy that she competed against, what's that guy's name again? It's William Thomas.
Will Thomas.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she competed against this guy, and she's pointed out that the dramatic difference between his placement when he competed as a man and then he competes against women is huge. I mean, it's like the most obvious thing in the world that he couldn't get anywhere near the top of the rankings competing against men, but the second he starts competing against women, he's got a real chance.
Exactly. He was between 400 and 500, depending on the particular race, ranked as a male, participated at the University of Pennsylvania for 3 years, and then senior year switched over, and then that was supposed to be okay. And it's not just the injury to competition that's in the pool. It is the injury that's also in the locker room. So Paula Scanlon was a student athlete alongside Will/Leah Thomas. And every single day, she, as a sexual assault survivor, had to get naked in front of a man. And if she complained about it, the University of Pennsylvania told her that she needed to reprogram herself, that she needed to get comfortable with it. And so for the group of people that is like so, out of control, irritated that E. Jean Carroll exists in this world, and yet they're completely fine with sexual assault survivors having to be nude in front of a man every single day. There's just so much. It's beyond hypocritical. It's crazy at this point.
Yes, it is. It is totally crazy. So you have taken up the effort here, the Independent Women's Forum, and all of the great women who are involved in this. We're wishing you a lot of luck, a lot of prayers on your side as you navigate all of this and hopefully restore a sense of normalcy, May Mailman.
Well, we appreciate you talking about this, and stay tuned. Independent Women's Forum works alongside amazing other women, and we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up.
I can't wait. Can't wait. May Mailman, director of the Independent Women's Forum's Law Center. Good to talk to you today. Thank you so much.